Welcome back, Sauce23 here, back in with some knife therapy, and I'm trying something new. I'm gonna be doing the voiceover showing this knife that I'm talking about in the testing I did. Y'all let me know if you like to see this kind of stuff. The knife I'm talking about is the Quiet Carry IQ in Elmax. They originally did a version in VG10, and I like that one a lot, but I'm not a huge fan of VG10, so whenever he came out with the LMAX version, I knew I had to get my hands on that one. He's got several different versions. You got a stone washed with stone washed blade and scales for $182. You got a satin version for $182. You got a black blade with black handles with a carbon fiber inlay for 198, or you can get a satin blade with the black handle with carbon fiber inlays for 198. So let's get into it. Let's get over some specs real quick. You have an overall length of 6.6 inches long, so it's not a big knife by any means. 2.9-inch blade, a 3-inch grip area. Very slim. It's at 0.38. It's 38 thousandths thick. Or wait, I'm sorry, 0.38 thick. I'm sorry, and 0.76 wide. It's got a 2.2 millimeter blade stock, so nice and thin blade stock. And it is 24 thousandths behind the edge with a 15 degree per side edge. So that lends itself to be a nice slicey blade, as you'll see in this cutting demonstrations. This knife is a very minimalistic, very almost non-existent footprint, very lightweight, and I think it's designed to be a nice gentleman slash office carry knife, and it definitely suits that. That's what I carried it for, and it excelled extremely well. Hardly know it's there. You can put it in a shirt pocket as well. It's very light. You have a nice reverse tanto blade shape, which I love because you have a good flat section of the blade, and you also have some belly while still having a nice tip for piercing. You got very minimal billboarding on here. You got very small quiet carry written on there, and then the blade steel Elmax is written on the other side of the blade. You have nice swedge that adds some design flair. The blade's coated, and whatever the coating is on it, it's held up really nice through all this. I just have some nice smudge marks, but I like that. It gives a nice character. You have a well-executed sharpening choil. You know I'm a stickler for that. They did a great job, at least on mine. The thin stock with that flat grind gives it very good slicing capabilities, as you can see in some of these tests. I didn't have any real bonding, even with the thicker stuff that I like, the thick cardboard, and this stuff I'm cutting right here. It did a good job. If you have a thicker blade, it's going to cause friction once you get to the thickest portion, and for how small this blade is, I didn't have a whole lot of leverage, and it still got through this rubber. Like this is for, I think, a drink, like for a drink machine or something. It's got that braided nylon in the middle of it, so it's not the easiest to cut. Let's see. They have a very minimal flipper tab on here. It has jimping on it. It's enough jimping to give you a nice purchase and allows you to flip the blade nicely, coupled with the bearings. And the detents dialed in just right. It's a very snappy flipper. The other version I had as well, the VG10, that one was great too. I noticed the detent was dialed in good on both of them. You have very minimalist construction with a T8 pivot and T6 body screws. And the body screw is also what holds the clip in there, so you don't have any extra screws. The clip has one screw that shows on the scale, and then the inside there's another screw holding it in there, so you don't have to worry about it wiggling on you. It's got 4 signature holes that you'll see on all the quiet carry knives. I like that. It lets you know that that's a quiet carry design, and it's very unique. So one thing about quiet carry, it's just a one-man band, and I'm sure he gets them outsourced to be made somewhere else, and they're done in small batches. So, not a ton of people will be having the knives. I pretty much loved every design. I own a Strand. I owned a West, which is a slip joint. And I've owned one of the little keychain knives as well. And like right here, I'm showing that even with whenever it comes to the full thickness on the top, it still slices through this very well. This rubbery stuff that I'm cutting through, this is like floor matting. It breezes through like it's butter. Absolutely nice. Oh, there goes my dog, wants to talk to y'all. So we talked about the signature holes on there. Like I said, it's a nice touch. Also, being that this is such a slim, thin knife, you know, whenever you're doing some of these heavier tasks and cutting, you're putting a lot of pressure down on the scales and holding it tight. And it wasn't bad whatsoever. You know, it being that it's so small, it did want to kind of twist in hand whenever I was doing some of the heavier cutting, like cutting shavings into the wood and stuff. But it definitely did the job, and it did the job well. It handled pretty much every task that I did in this video without a problem. You know, probably not the first choice, especially for like feather sticks and stuff like that. But as you can see, it did a great job. I only have a few minor nitpicks and complaints about the knife, and none of them hurt the functionality of the knife whatsoever, and it's basically inherent to the design. First off, being that you got this small little flipper tab, you don't have a whole lot to hold on to, which, you know, that's good and bad. You don't have a flipper tab kind of in the way in your pocket, but being a small and thin stock, it's not sharp, but, you know, depending on how I caught it, it could, you know, slide and rough up on the finger, but that's not like a big concern. You do have to be mindful of the lock bar. If you put your fingers on there hard enough, it doesn't, the problem doesn't happen with this one, but my VG10 one, if I had my fingers on the lock bar hard enough, it would be a little bit harder to open. Also, being that you got thin scales, and they got a chamfer on both sides by the lock bar to be able to get your thumb in there to disengage the lock. Well, that chamfer, as deep as it's cut, so it's easier to get your finger in there. It has a thin spot on the frame that, I don't know, it's not like very uncomfortable or anything, but you do notice it after you flipped it about 100 times in an hour. Other than that, oh, and one more last thing, another minor thing, is the pocket clip. It being that it's so small, it does have pretty strong retention. I kind of loosened mine up a little bit, and it also has a little pad that sits underneath the ball of the lock. Of the pocket clip, and whenever you got the pressure on that pocket clip, it does tend to grab onto the pants. So not a huge issue, but something to let you know. Oh, I didn't touch. The knife did come perfectly centered, super smooth, and it has great blade to handle ratio. So overall, I think this knife is excellent. Right now, I've been cutting a bunch of stuff, and I was testing other knives while I was testing this one, and I'm just going to say, out of all the other knives I tested and various other super steels, this knife outperformed every one of them by a long shot. I did reprofile. Well, I didn't reprofile. I did resharpen this one. I did it 3 times. And on the 3rd try, it seemed like I'm getting the best performance out of the steel. Right now, this is sped up as fast as I could on my camera. And this is where it really blew me away. At this point, before I got to this, the knife was still pretty darn sharp. I think I showed the sharpness at before the test. It was still cutting phone book paper pretty decently. All the other knives that I was testing at the same time, they got to this cardboard and probably cut up a quarter of what the Quiet Carry cut up, and they were all dull. This, like I said, is sped up, and I cut cardboard for 18 minutes straight. 18 minutes and 25 seconds. And at the end of that, I could start feeling that it was starting to dull up. It wasn't cutting the cardboard as smoothly, but it still cut printer paper without a problem. So it still has a good working edge on it. and whoever's doing their heat treat is nailing it to a T. Something I love to see, and it gives me confidence in buying, one of their knives. I already like their designs, so it's just a pleasure when you know you have a well heat treated knife, especially with a steel like Elmax. When it's very finicky, you got to hit the heat treat right on the head, because if not, it doesn't have a whole lot of variance. I think it's between 60 to 62, and there's no leeway in between. ZT had that problem, and they struggled with their Elmax. So it's definitely cool. I know I'll definitely be giving Quiet Carry more of my business. They have an awesome fixed blade that's in the works that I definitely can't wait to get my hands on. It's just exciting. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, y'all just leave it down below. If you're on the fence about this knife, I say definitely go for it. At $182, you're getting Elmax, you're getting your titanium, and you're getting a precision heat treat and a well dialed in knife. To me, that's well worth that price tag. I have knives that I spent way more than $182 with about the same setup, and their heat treat wasn't half as good as this guy. So y'all let me know. Do y'all think that's a justifiable price? And I know it's not cheap by any means, but where it stacks up to some of the other knives that I was testing it definitely made me feel good about spending, or putting that kind of money into a knife like this. And also let me know if y'all like this format, if y'all like the voiceover while I'm doing the testing. I was gonna just upload the testing, and y'all could hear me talking about the certain things in between, but I asked last night on my live feed if y'all wanted the voiceover or y'all wanted to see the testing. Yeah, the voiceover while I was doing the testing, or if y'all wanted to see the testing and me talking about it. And the vote was to do the voiceover review like this. So if that's something y'all want to see and it gets seen, I will do more of this. But a lot of people say they want to see the testing, but it's usually some of my least viewed videos. So it's a lot of work, a lot of editing, and I don't mind doing it. I'm doing it anyway, but it's the editing that takes time. Like I said, if y'all watch this video and y'all enjoy this type, I'll do more. I don't mind doing it. I enjoy doing the test, and I do my test geared on things that the average person would cut up in a day. Or usually this is basically like what most people's EDC cuts in a month. Let's be honest, unless you work in an industry where you're like in the construction field and you got to do a lot of cutting, then this is about all you would, probably more than most people would do. So like I said, let me know what y'all think. I got some more videos coming soon. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed editing this one up, and I hope it turned out okay. My software isn't the best. I use something that's just easy. So let me know what y'all think. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what y'all think. Tell me what y'all want to see more of. And if y'all have any critiques on this video, feel free to let me know. I'm just showing right now that it doesn't have any damage on the edge. No chips, no rolls. They do have some dulling just from the sheer cutting of everything I did. And I'll tell you, I did so much cutting so fast with the cardboard, it heated up the knife pretty hot. And that's just a testament of how well this knife held up. My hands are sore from doing all the cutting.